Hello everyone and welcome to my Lego room. I'm TJ the Brickwright and today I'm going to be going over just a few things that are happening right now in my Lego room. Since our big brick slopes win, which was awesome, I want to thank all of you guys for the support in putting such huge things together. I was so excited about winning this last year that I've already got my build for next year, and it is on. I believe it's going to be on scale for the La Brea class Imperial Command Cruiser. I think it's going to. My plan is to have this ship be the answer or be a comparable opponent to the La Brea class Command Cruiser. So obviously, scale-wise, I'm looking at doing something very similar in size. Again, full interiors with a few other extra features that I think will make it quite enjoyable to play with and to do a nice video tour of. But it's big enough and it's complex enough that I think I got to get started now. Especially if I want to build that minifigure scale Venator class Republic attack cruiser eventually. Anyway, let's go over a couple of the things that have been happening. So last week, I didn't have a video go up, and I apologize for that. It's been a very, very, very complicated couple of weeks. I've had a lot going on. But I did find the time to put together instructions for the updated version of Mynock 5. And actually, this is even different than what you saw at Brick Slopes. When I went back through and did the instructions, there were a couple things I always really wanted to do on the ship that I didn't have time for before Brick Slopes because I was finishing up my project and putting this together. So I kept it very much the same as what the winner had. But there are a few key differences. One of the main ones, and this was the big change that I made, was on the very front, instead of having a stepped look that was just jagged edges, I really tried to get a more smooth looking, it's the gray section here is what I'm talking about. I wanted to try to make that a little more smooth and give it some wedge plate transitions. To be 100% clear about this, what I really wanted to do was actually build this to be double-sided and have a center core like I did on the Venator class A-Wing. But the mechanism and the escape pod attachment for this new ship didn't quite work out the way that I had hoped. Another thing that I did is on the engines, we added some extra greebles on there as well. It was just when I was going through my parts and trying to find all the parts that I needed, I came across these parts, these framed, basic skeletonized version of the wedge. And I believe this came from the First Order Special Forces TIE Fighter from episode 7. And I'm like, oh, you know what? That would look really good on this. I didn't have any of the ones with the sticker, the red stickers on them. So, but I guess that wasn't that big of a deal. And then I was able to add extra little engine greebles on the top of it, which I think worked out really well. On the underside, we still have what I think are pretty awesome, the pop-out cannons right there, which are pretty sweet. I really like the idea of those pop-out cannons, and I have to apologize if anybody picked up the instructions. I did not include those little red dots on the final instructions. Not sure how I missed that, but I did. So if you want to make it a little more accurate, just throw on those Technic half pins with just red 1x1 round tiles and you're good to go. I guess that's how we're going to tell if people paid attention or not. The mechanism for popping that out is the same. I'm really proud of the instructions for the new version of Mynock 5. I think they turned out extremely well, and I'm very happy with how the new version of the ship turned out. The coloring worked out great. If you want to know what that sticker is, that is actually from the Raider ATST from Mandalorian. So in case you want that, I thought it looked pretty good as like a scratch section or something. I didn't really go any further than that. That's just happened to be the part that I pulled out, and I said, I'll put it on. So it was a good time. I'm very impressed with the ship. It's so thin, but it actually works quite well. It's really wide, which helps it fit in with the other ships of Mynock Squadron. I wish I had them all out right now, but I'm still in display mode in the Lego room, so a lot of things are put away and a lot of things are in the way, because I'm displaying the La Brea class command cruiser right now at what used to be Salt Lake Comic-Con, which is now called Fan X, short for like Fan Experience, I think. Salt Lake Fan Experience. It's one of the greatest cons in the world, I think. It was actually growing so fast that San Diego Comic-Con sued Salt Lake Comic-Con into oblivion, the very generous people that San Diego Comic-Con is. And they said, well, people are going to get confused by the brand name. And it's like, well, it's not a brand name. It's a slang term. It's a colloquial term. A Comic-Con is, tons of places have Comic-Cons, but Salt Lake got too big. So San Diego came after them. Very, very hurt feelings over at San Diego, for sure. They have to be the biggest Comic-Con. And if they're going to stay that way, then they got to make sure to shut down anybody who threatens that, right? I really shouldn't share that kind of opinion here, but I did. All right. So now another thing that Nathan wanted me to go over with the ship, beforehand, we went over the history and the pilot and co-pilot, Nathaniel Weirin, and FCN1, also for short FC. And what Nathan wanted to do is come up with a backstory of how Nathaniel and FC became part of Mynock Squadron. And so I had a thought, and let me know if you like it. But this is what I was coming up with. This is what I've come up with, and I have some notes here, some designation, some bullet points. That's the word. Going over what I think could be the backstory between how this became, Nathaniel and FC became the pilots for Mynock 5. So, I wanted to include my own stuff anyway. So there was an attack that the New Republic was moving against some Imperial remnants. One of these was an Imperial class command cruiser, Imperial command cruiser, La Brea class, of course, because that's what's on my mind. And when they went in to attack it, there were several squadrons involved. I believe that Nathaniel and FC were part of Skull Squadron at one point. I think that was part of their backstory. I could be a little off on that, but again, I'm going off of the notes that I took. And Skull Squadron and Mynock Squadron were both engaged to go out and to take this ship out. Well, Nathaniel was doing really awesome, but unfortunately got clipped by a couple lucky shots off of the anti-aircraft cannons on the command cruiser. So Nathaniel took a couple shots. It took out his engines. Him and FC were able to very successfully land in one of the little volcano pods on the planet that the ship was on, and were able to stop and land safely, but then they were stuck. Unfortunately, neither Mynock Squadron or Skull Squadron was able to finish the job, and the Imperial remnants were able to beat them back for now. What ended up happening, though, is as they were flying away, Mynock Squadron spotted them, and Mynock 1 commanded his crew to go back and to try to help him out. And this is after the original Mynock 1 was already gone, and the original Mynock 5 was promoted to take their place as the commander. So Mynock 1 ordered all the pilots to come back and to defend him, because they noticed that the Imperials had seen him go down and were now mounting an offensive to go and wipe him out, or take him captive. They didn't really know which one, but they weren't going to leave anybody behind. So at great personal risk to themselves, both Mynock Squadron and Skull Squadron, realizing that Nathaniel and FC were down, turned around, came back, and with their renewed vigor to make sure that Nathaniel and FC were okay and that they would be able to return, they ended up coming back, and in a weird roundabout way, Nathaniel and FC were responsible for the takedown of the La Brea class Imperial command cruiser that they were targeting, because they got shot down and everybody didn't want to leave them behind. So that renewed vigor actually inspired everybody to come back and finish it off. Now, after looking over the ship, seeing the damaged engines, seeing the open greebles, the open engine sections and machinery on the ship, Mynock 1's commander was very impressed with how well the ship had done up to that point. A couple lucky shots is all it takes, to take somebody down. So nobody in Mynock Squadron held it against Nathaniel and FC. And in one of the first times, the first time in Mynock Squadron history, they didn't really hold auditions. They just went straight up and offered the position to Nathaniel and FC, along with helping them fix their ship, giving it a brand new paint job from all the damage, souping up the engines just a little bit on the end, and there you go. And the rest is history. Nathaniel and FC officially became members of Mynock Squadron. I am going to be including the build, what am I trying to say? The construction and parts list for both Nathaniel and FC. I'm hoping to do that with all of the minifigures from Mynock Squadron. Go back to their instructions and add the parts for the minifigures and droids as optional parts in the instructions. So that should be fun. Thank you, Nathaniel, for giving me license and encouraging me to come up with how they became part of Mynock Squadron. It's been fun to think about, and I tried to think of all the different ways. And as I was rereading the history of Nathaniel and FC, I really started thinking that they were really good pilots. They were fantastic at what they did. They were a big part of Skull Squadron, and that Mynock Squadron kind of poached them off Skull Squadron, helped them rebuild the ship, doing the slight modifications that we saw, and I had a lot of fun coming up with that. So thank you, Nathaniel, for that suggestion. Just as one more thing that I've been doing, and I need you guys to let me know if you would be interested in instructions for this. I have the brand new Ahsoka shuttle. I actually ordered one of these off of Amazon because Lego was out by the time I had some money put together to go and get one. So I picked it up at my local Costco, I ordered it off of Amazon. That's right. And then found out that they were selling them at Costco for an insanely lowered price, almost 20% off a brand new Lego Star Wars set to get ready for Christmas. It's hard to pass that kind of thing up. But anyway, what I ended up doing is I did pick up a couple of them, as I am wont to do with all the money that I make from YouTube. Okay, not so big secret. I will be shutting down my ad revenue on YouTube once the next check comes through, because they only pay you when you get $100, and that's happening once every 6 months. So I'm actually going to get rid of the monetization. I don't see a reason for it anymore. I know it's money and it is real, but That's not why I'm doing it. So anyway, so I picked up 2 of these, and now my ship can do this. Yep, it's mirrored on both sides. So it's got all the stuff on both sides. And if you look on the side here, you can see, just like I had talked about with Mynock 5, having the single brick between everything, I actually did it on this ship instead. So I still got my fix of building that kind of thing. It is rather thick. It is, 1.5 plates thicker than it was before. But everything else pretty much worked the same. There's only one thing I had to modify on Ahsoka's ship to make sure that the heavier wings would work and the more built-up wings. And that was removing a dark red cheese wedge on the bottom. That's all I had to do. The rest of it is just modifications to the wings. And I gotta say, like, having it move around, you know, and not having to have that ugly underside on either side of it, it was worth it. If you guys would like instructions, let me know. Not sure if I would put them up for sale or not. I probably will. This was actually pretty complicated. Bunch of work to put it together, and I'm 100% certain that trying to make instructions would be just as difficult. So we'll kind of play that one by ear, but let me know what you think if you would like those. And this video has been insanely long, way longer than my normal ones, but again, I didn't get a video out last week, and I'm not going to get one out next week either. I have some other plans, and they are going to interfere with my ability to share a video or to record a video. Got a lot of work going on next week. Otherwise, I guess I'll share one more thing with you guys. I did pick up 6 of the Marvel minifigure packs, and I ended up with 2 Hawkeyes, which isn't my favorite thing in the world. I would have loved a Kate Bishop to go with my Hawkeye. I think that would have been cool instead. But there were only 3 characters that I really wanted from the set, and I got all 3 of them in some kind of a miracle. Number 1 was actually 2 different minifigures, both versions of Moon Knight. I actually got them just by chance. So those are my top 2 figures that I really wanted more than anything else. Both versions of Moon Knight. I can't believe they also got his fish in there. That's pretty awesome. Sorry the focus wasn't good. And then there was only one more character when I looked at the little map, and I'm like, okay, wow, I can't believe I got both these Moon Knights. I had one more pack to open. I said, what would I want more than anything else? What other figures would I want? And I said, you know what? I really like that one, and it was Giant Man. And I opened my little daughter opened the last pack, and it was Giant Man. So awesome. I now have a Lawrence Fishburne minifigure, which is pretty awesome. So, all right, that's it. We'll call it good there. Sorry it was such a long video. I hope you guys had a good time. Hopefully I kept you somewhat entertained. Again, Salt Lake FanX is going on right now. I have a display there. You guys who are in Utah, head into the Lego section, and you can see my display. It is tucked in a corner and hidden and not very well accessible, and a couple pieces are falling off and I can't get to them because of the arrangement that we have. It's in a terrible location, but it's there, and it gives me points for our club so that I can stay part of the club. I guess. I'm not really sure what the points are for. Do I? Points are for some. They're important. But yeah, that's what we're at. So hopefully you guys are having a good weekend. Thank you for hanging out with me. And until I see you next time in the Lego room, I've been TJ the Brickwright. Play well. Bye.